Hello everyone, welcome to How to Build Lucretia guide. And she is a power creep mage just like Lana, just like Light of Genesis, Rachel, etc. She's in faction of Tensei Reincarnation, Empire, and Princess. Let's take a look at her two classes and compare the stats. Hermit is a mage class and Grand Bishop is a holy class. The stats are pretty much the same, while Hermit has a little more magic defense and Grand Bishop has more HP with the same int with less magic defense. I would recommend going with Bishop because of the higher HP, and HP is very important to Lucretia. I didn't make this guide before the banner was released. The reason why is because Langrisser always has different names and info than the actual release of the character's talent and stuff. So I just don't want to make it really confusing, so I just waited and summoned the character, then make the guide. So if you have already previewed her skills and talents and etc. in Langrisser, the names might be a little bit different in here. Let's talk about her talent, Golem Sorceress. The higher this unit's HP, the more damage dealt, up to 18, 22, 26, and 30% is 6 stars. This is why I mentioned earlier that HP is very important for this character because you deal much more damage. At the start of a battle, summon a arcane golem, which is the puppet, next to self. When there is a magic puppet, oh I forgot to change this, whatever. When there is a arcane golem within 3 blocks of this unit, then this unit will not die when taking a fatal hit, instead restoring 5, 10, 15, and 20% HP, limit once per battle. Note that when the golem is summoned in the first turn, it cannot cast any skills. And you're controlling 2 units at the same time, just like how you have Sky Archer summoned by Liana, you just control it on the same turn. To ensure Lucretia has 2 lives, make sure the golem is 3 range of Lucretia. Now I'll talk a little bit about the arcane golem. The arcane golem inherits Lucretia's max HP and stats at the start of a turn and has 3 skills. Do know that is max HP and stats, so basically at how strong your Lucretia is, the puppet will be as strong. Since the arcane golem is summoned right in the beginning of the turn, which means it's stats of Lucretia before your faction buff. The first skill, Arcane Mark, is a passive skill. The summoner of this magic puppet gains unit range +2. There is no cooldown since it's a passive, which means Lucretia can always hit +2 range, and this also applies to her troops. Second skill, Magic Pulse, assist skill. Reduce the cooldown of all skills of the target by 1. It's not just one skill, but all of the skills. The last skill here, Shift Position. Swap positions with the summoner and acts again. So you can only do it with the summoner, which is Lucretia. Both in Langrisser and in game, it doesn't say how long their cooldown is. It doesn't specify if there is cooldown. I went ahead and used her in an actual battle. There is cooldown for her skills except Arcane Mark since it's a passive. So Magic Pulse has a 1 turn cooldown, and then Shift Position has a 3 turns cooldown. Bonding requirement. First 3 is very straightforward. The 4th one, Toughness, you will need Lollibozo to help unlock the bond. And then the 5th bond, Strength, you will need Autocrator, who is also in the same banner of Lucretia, to unlock the bond. Okay, before I talk about her skills, I'm not going to go over the old skills anymore because unfortunately I realized that there are not a lot of new players, so I might be just repeating myself with information that you already know. I mean, I'll still go over the skills, but I won't talk about what the skills will do. Like, I won't go into details. Mask Attack, she can self-buff, so if you don't have a faction buffer, no problem, she can do that. And then 2 very strong single target skill, Dark Reaper and Cleanse. Another very good single target skill, Free Strike, if you're fighting against Lancer characters. And then 2 very strong AoE as well, Heaven Sanction and Black Hole. Now to her exclusive skills, the first one is a Chaotic Missile. Cost 2, cooldown 3, range 6, span line. Range 6 is pretty crazy. Magic damage attacks enemies along a line, dealing 0.33 times AoE damage, effective against holy units and deal 1 random debuff to them. Psychic Corruption, cost 1, magic damage, deals 0.3 times AoE damage to enemies within 4 blocks of self or within 4 blocks of the magic puppet, which is the arcane golem. Enemies are afflicted with cannot be healed and cannot be buffed last 2 turns. Okay, the pros and cons of this over Black Hole is that Black Hole has better debuffs, but this one has a shorter cooldown. And do not forget that with the puppet, you can reduce your cooldown by 2, which means you can potentially use this AoE every other turn. And then next we have Shadow Coordination, cost 1. Passive skill, after actively dealing damage, the enemy gains Shadow Mark. When the Arcane Golem battles against enemies with Shadow Mark, then it will ignore guard, gain damage dealt plus 30% and damage taken minus 50%. This skill makes the Golem very scary because it ignores guard as well while you deal more damage and take less damage. Awakening skill, Impure Shockwave, cost 3, cooldown 3, range 2, span single. It's a single target attack. Passive, after taking action, restore 20% to self and the magic puppet. And then the active skill, magic damage, attacks a single enemy for 1.6 times damage, effective against holy units. Before battle, remember it's before battle, inflict attack in minus 30%, defense minus 30%, magic defense minus 30%, and skill minus 30%. Last 2 turns cannot be dispelled. So this 3C is basically crazy. It deals so much damage and a lot of debuff before the battle, which means the chance of you one-shotting enemies is extremely high. And also don't forget about her talent, which also increases 30% damage dealt. Okay, now we're going to look at the recommended weapon. The first one is if you are going to use her as holy class and you want to make her deal it while you can attack and heal, Give Up Eternal Life is recommended. Or if you want her to hit at 5 range while the golem is alive, Scepter of Divinity is the staff that you want to go with. Miracle Staff if you want to AoE focus with her. Also other decent weapons out there such as Pale Staff for the stronger single target skill, or Red Moon is also a very decent choice for the HP and int. Okay, recommended armor, Tenyo's Robe, always one of the best for mage. It's especially good on her because of her talent and the golem. Next we have Twilight Guard. I think only use this if you're using Gift of Eternal Life for extra healing. Then the third one, honestly, it's whatever. If you don't have the above 2, I just threw in whatever. I think Death Robe is good mainly for PvP. If you, let's say, have to fight against Ares, if you don't want to get one shot by Ares, then Death Robe can help prevent that. Recommended helmet, Tenyo's Headdress, one of the best for any mage, any holy units. And then the other one I recommend would be Glory of the World. This works really well on her, especially if you're using Holy class. Have her as Holy class and use Sorceress, that's already mixed troops. And then all the other troops I recommend, they're all going to be mixed troops on her, even if you use her as a mage class. And then once again for the third helmet, honestly it can be anything. I just put Soul Stealer because of more debuffs, but anything that you have that you think it'll fit your playstyle, you can use that. Recommended accessory, Fedaros for extra dispel from the enemy. Since she has a lot of AoE, I think this is a really good one. Works on single target and AoE. Okay, for God's sake, I cannot pronounce this. I would pronounce this as Drop Near. So anyways, this one is to have a chance to counter attack and possibly counter kill because you have really high HP and long range attacks. Okay, last but not least, Holy Ring. Holy Ring just to prevent yourself from getting silenced. It can be Bracer as well, but Bracer you'll get a little bit less in. If you don't want to use any of these, of course any accessory that gives her in will work. For example, Star Earring will work also really well on her because it also gives a lot of HP. Enchant Choices, if you're using the Drab Near, Thorn will be really good. Thorn for the extra HP percent and the extra reflect will definitely help you secure a counter damage, especially at 2 or more range. Okay, and then Breeze can't go wrong. especially for characters with short legs. In her case, it's a little bit different. As a breeze prop, her attack potential can be up to 10 range if you have Scepter of Divinity. Full Moon for optimal damage, but usually is recommended for PvE. It's much more realistic to have your HP above 80% in PvE over PvP. Okay, for the enchant stats, this one, don't get confused. I wouldn't say Int is not as important as HP. They're equally as important, HP and Int, but then I can only put them in specific order. So you want to get as much HP as possible while as much as Int as possible. So lots to a lot of enchant you gotta do. Okay, soldier choices. Firebrand Sniper. You don't really see Firebrand Sniper often being recommended. The reason I recommend this is because mainly for PvP. For PvE, not really, but for PvP, if you're facing against characters with angels, you have a hard time one-shotting that character. But with Firebrand Sniper, Firebrand will take out the angels, and then your character Lucretia will hit the target. Sorceress, always one of the mage's best friend for optimal damage. Okay, and last but not least, I recommend Dark Elf Sniper, but I would prefer Firebrand, but this is just in case someone don't have Firebrand built and you already have Dark Elf Sniper built, you can probably use Dark Elf Sniper. It works as well in my opinion. Okay everyone, thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys have a better understanding of how to use and build this character. I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.
ルクレチアは教皇様の自慢の作品なの。あんたもそう思うでしょ？怖がらないで。痛く